Jai Hind viewers, welcome back to the Global Strategic and Defense News. Today, in every form of media, there's only one headlines. It is the Iran war or connected with the Iran war. After World War II, if there is one war which has affected every citizen, every nation, it is this Iran war. Because be it the ongoing Russia Ukraine war, the Israel Hamas war, the 12-day Iran Israel war of last year, these wars were localized where the effect did not come down to the every citizen in any small or big country in the world. But this is one war which has actually shaken up everyone. So, to discuss one important aspect about this war, that is energy, how the energy lines have been severely affected. Today, on the Candid Conversation, we have Avantika Kansal, who's a eminent journalist, who's a political commentator, content creator, having worked in big media houses, who's a very credible international voice on geopolitics and international relations, and we'll discuss this issue in depth with her. Welcome, Avantika, to the Global Strategic and Defense News.
Thank you, sir. It's my honor to be here and to be able to speak on this topic, which everyone is talking about these days.
Thank you. Avantika, my first question is, what are your views on Iran's strategy of controlling the Strait of Hormuz during this war?
So, when it comes to Strait of Hormuz, Iran, like you mentioned in the question, it has been a strategic step for Iran to hold on to Strait of Hormuz per se. It is not just about disrupting the energy supply or the oil supply, but it also comes down to the very basic fact as to how much power we hold, how much can we do by simply blocking our strait. Whereas we all know that from Strait of Hormuz, it's just not Iran; it is the entire Gulf oil which is passing through. But Iran geographically has the advantage to look after Strait of Hormuz, can block Strait of Hormuz. So they have used it in a manner where it's just not a territorial thing. It is a destruction, it is a disruption, and they have used it to leverage a lot of things. First, because they blocked Strait of Hormuz. And if we say they blocked Strait of Hormuz, and if we look at the details, they have blocked it, but they still let go of few ships depending on their personal relation with so and so country. Say they had released few ships for India, and they do that as and when it is required. But at the same time, the bigger narrative has, and here I'm saying narrative because there are exceptions, but the bigger narrative here which has been made is that there is a blockage, which is of course there, which the blockage of a strait which captures almost 20 to 25% energy oil supply. So that route is blocked, which now has made the world spiral in the manner Iran has been able to leverage it in a manner that now US also knows that Iran, of course, has an upper hand because they have Strait of Hormuz. Then, if we look at the entire region, the cost has really gone up. If we talk about now, the average cost is around $100 per barrel, going maximum to a 120, $130 per barrel. Here, so much oil has been not passing through. Also, a lot of machineries and a lot of things have also been bombed, and a lot of destruction per se has also happened in the Gulf region when we talk about the oil. So here, the strategy of Iran has been more of to block has been more to make the world understand as to the point where Iran stands, as in how much he can hold, and less about the blockage. Also, this how this portrays at the world end is that the world sees Iran in a commanding position. Having said that, Iran is not in a commanding position, but definitely they have something to leverage upon, and the people. of Iran. They see that our country, it has some power, it is in some eminent position, and it can actually make the world shake in a manner that people literally go back and understand that, this is where Iran stands. So that is how I would say they have used this strategy by controlling Strait of Hormuz. So the narrative, the voice, the how they have structured it, that is very important here to understand. And the oil, it is secondary. First is that we own this, and that is how we also not own the war, but we are parallel, like we are standing as tall as US or as Israel, and that is why they have also been able to sustain so far. Where their regime has toppled, Strait of Hormuz has really given them that kind of leverage to really stand.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you and very well explained. Yes, Iran has leveraged the Strait of Hormuz very well to its total advantage. Avantika, my next question to you is, ever since internet came in a big way in the world, one had been hearing of a maxim called data is the new oil. So now in the context of the Iran war, what is your opinion? Do you think that controlling energy has proven to be of greater value than controlling big data?
Yes, absolutely. Controlling energy has been of a big value in the manner that energy is here is a fuel which provides the livelihood, and per se not just the livelihood, but this is how people sustain themselves. And then we look at the data. Now if we talk about energy, everyone in today's day and age, they need energy, being it oil and being it energy in any other form. They need it in their daily life to sustain themselves. And right now in 2026, the world is changing, and the world is adapting to new technology per se. Of course, the world is also moving away from oil, and they are looking to have various different kinds of alternatives when it comes to oil, various different kind of energy. But the world is still changing, and it hasn't changed completely. So the energy part still remains very, very heavy as compared to data. Now, when we talk about data and we talk about the companies, we talk about the internet. So, however, internet has been able to create a lot of buzz here, and because we also have so much data, a lot of price fluctuations and a lot of market disruption has come across. So that is where also data has played a role. But even if we say, even when we see the energy is absolutely commanding right now, and it will command. How I am seeing it, it will command at least for next 5 years, till the time countries do realize that we need to become more self-reliant, or countries figure out various ways and method to become self-reliant. Till the time it is owned by, say, geography and politics, which together is geopolitics, the energy is owned by geopolitics, this kind of scenario will pertain, at least per se, for next 5 years.
Absolutely. You have rightly brought out that without data, one can still sustain, but without oil or energy, it is impossible to sustain. And this is what the Iran war has, highlighted that come what may, for the next some time, like you rightly said, energy will be the main dividend of the country who can control it. Avantika, my
Yes.
next question to you is,
So, having said that, just one thing: without data, sustenance uh, is a still. I mean, it's still a questionable thing. Can they
yes,
sustain or not sustain?
correct.
But in the largest context, without data, they can still do fairly better per se as compared to without energy.
True. Absolutely. Avandika, my next question is, during this 40-day Iran war, countries like Japan, whose 70% energy comes from the Middle East, country like Philippines, whose 94% energy comes from the Middle East, India, whose 47% energy comes from the Middle East, these countries were severely affected. So, do you feel that countries like Japan, Philippines, South Korea, India, they did not plan well for such a contingency?
Thanks a lot for this question. So, eventually, when we look at South Asia and countries like Japan, South Korea, and India, I would say that let's first take example of India and then we move to Japan and South Korea. India, in last, I would say, in last 4 to 5 years has really tried to make itself self-reliant. It has really tried to explore various other energy methods, being it yeah, ethanol or being it solar energy. They have been working on this, and we all know it has been going on, actively going on from last 4 5 years. And but still, India, most populous country, 140 crore. A lot of illiteracy in the country, huge population, people are not even aware about how the energy could be deployed. There's not so much awareness. At the same time, these are the same people who do have some kind of vehicle with them. Say they would have a two-wheeler, or maybe they would have a four-wheeler. Maybe not a four-wheeler, but such people still tier two, tier three sometimes do have the two-wheeler, and they do need oil for that. And India is heavily reliant on oil for all its consumption when it comes to either vehicles or say gas for the cooking. If we talk about that, just an example, just two examples I'm going to give you. Yesterday, I was talking to someone from the geopolitical circle, and this person is saying that if we talk about, gas, I haven't used it in last 45 days because it's not available and it's not easily available. And a lot of people are actually I would say people from metropolitan, decently literate people who can afford have moved to industrial schools and they have been able to sustain. But at the same time, if we talk about people who are working and people who do not have access to all these things, they were literally told to move and they literally had to move to the earlier days to and chula and all those things because again they also do not have access to say the gas. And when we talk about oil, still government has been able to manage the crisis of oil very well in India. But having said that, coming back to the point, first, India is a country which is heavily dependent on imports from the Gulf. Now, if we see the entire scenario, who has the maximum oil? That is the Venezuela, which is followed by Gulf, and which is followed by US, which is followed by Russia. But India is located in such a manner, and I'm just referring to India for now. However, even Japan and South Korea are located in South Asia only. So they are located in such a manner for them to import from Gulf countries, it makes so much more sense. Because also because of the costing, also because of the geography, also because of the time, also because of the politics. Now, politics here is very important. Now, when we talk about US and Venezuela, that is something which is far-fetched for India. And then we talk about when we talk about Russia, is it is something where US intervened, and then India literally had to let go of Russia for some point in time. Till the time US again then asked them that no, you can't go back to Russia. So having said that, all these things which have happened at the backdrop of this entire energy crisis, India has really struggled and has been struggling because they are heavily reliant on imports from the Gulf countries per se, and they have been really hit up. Now, if we talk about are they self-reliant? Have they been able to, were given this chance to be self-reliant and have they worked on it or not? I would say India has tried to work on being self-reliant, but with a population of 140 crores, it's not that easy. Also, if we talk about the per capita income and we look at the population, again, it is not very easy. So the entire point is the technology has been adapted, so the technology is very much there, and the awareness government has tried to make people aware. They have really tried to make people aware of the point that these are solar panels. This is what they can do, or this is uh, the ethanol bit and how it could be blended in fuel and things like that. But still, there is a long way to go. Long way to go in terms of fully incorporating all these energies into the system for India, and similarly, a long way to go for people also to understand and incorporate. In 2026 cannot see a person who is not educated enough, who is doing maybe a labor, being able to incorporate all these energy sources which are there, which are present, the awareness is there, the technology is there, but I still don't see that. So having said that, India is of course very heavily reliant on imports, and it will remain to be heavily reliant on imports because of the entire, I would say, demography of India, and also how India is located and how things are. Now, when we move to Japan and when we move to South Korea, now Japan is still a heavily self-reliant country. So they have been still able to manage the crisis in a better manner. But now this, what Japan has been able to do is something which they really started incorporating in their economy or in their country after World War II ended. So if we go to 1945, and then if we see Japan struggle, they really struggled and they really try to make themselves self-reliant. And now in 2026, after so many years of struggle, they have reached to a point where people are aware of various other ways of generating the energy or capturing the energy and being able to use that energy in their day-to-day lives. So while it is not a oil-heavy country. Of course, they do import, but at the same time, they are more self-reliant, and they have been able to somewhat save through in a better manner. They have been able to deal with this crisis in a better manner. And if we talk about South Korea, it lies somewhere in between, say, Japan and India. Not so much self-reliant, but still a little better. And here also we need to understand that the population and the literacy rate is highly important. Whereas India does not have the advantage of this, Japan has the maximum advantage of this. South Korea also has an advantage of this. Also, their land size is limited if we compare this. So while they are hit, and not only them, the entire South Asia as a region has been hit because it's not a oil heavy or energy heavy region by its own nature. They had to go out and they had to source and they had to understand. But at the same time, this is where the difference lies in various countries of the region.
Totally. You very well explained how geography, how population, how literacy, three major factors which decide how a country becomes self-reliant on energy or is dependent heavily on the other nations. Avantika, my last question to you is, what do you suggest that how should the world now prepare for such an eventuality arising again? Because wars are here to stay sometime or the other, some war will happen, and the Middle East is so inflammatory. I mean, anything can happen anytime. We have seen it in the last 2 years now. So, what all steps should the world take to ensure that they are not affected by such an eventuality happening again?
Um, Here, thanks a lot for this question. Now, this is a very vast area to understand. Per se, IMF is looking at a very huge recession. They are predicting a very huge recession, which can hit any time by end of this year or next year. And war is, like you mentioned, wars are here to stay, and one is looking at an elongated period of 3 to 5 years at the least. In such a scenario, the first point that I would like to make is that in first scenario, the countries and the economies should actually be working at to come at a truce so that such situation is not there. Because we all know that Any country cannot become heavy in any resources which it does not have by its very basic nature. Say, South Asian countries, they do not have their own oil per se. So they will be dependent on West Asia or rest of the world for oil. In that scenario, of course, the first thing is that they become self-reliant in terms of energy. They start producing their own energy and they start figuring out ways of making their own energies. But all these things also do not come without the support of the ecosystem. And when I talk about the ecosystem, it is the world's ecosystem. Now, here, India, for an example, has been now importing from Russia. But it cannot happen that India completely stop importing from any of the countries and become self-reliant within maybe 5 years. It is difficult. In that scenario, the way to look at it and the way to go forward is that even if the war is there, there should be some kind of understanding that okay, the war is there and so countries they have so and so issues, so many reasons, but still we are coming to a conclusion or we are coming to a point where all these things are not disrupted. At least people are getting what they really deserve. Now, the point here is that war also has its own rules. By the very exact definition of it, war was given rules that the people should not be impacted, the children should not be impacted. They shouldn't be targeted. A lot of lives shouldn't be targeted like that. And all these things were there to be kept in mind, but nothing has been kept in mind if we talk about the current situation, say in Lebanon or what happened in Gaza before that. So when the war reaches to such an extreme position or such an extreme point, the entire issue of energy and say of oil becomes secondary because these are the things which actually needs to be kept in mind that no, in what, okay, you have deployed defense forces, you have a navy, you have army, and this war is going on. And sometimes the wars are not even physical. As we go forward, the war might not be so much physical, and they could be carried in various manner. But here, they shouldn't be. First of all, I'm talking about life as in I'm just trying to give an insight to the viewers that this is what the war has come to, and the same thing used to happen during World War One and World War Two. So how has the landscape changed in so many years? It hasn't really changed. 80 years later, also we are still standing at the similar situation where the war is still there, the lives are still hit. Uh, Organizations like UN, WHO are not talking about anything, which were actually formed after, UN was formed after World War II to actually safeguard the interest of the citizens of the globe. It's not happening. When these basic things are not happening, energy, oil, everything becomes so secondary. But that is the point. The countries, whosoever is fighting war, they need to understand personal lives, then they need to understand the essential commodities. They need to come to a fact or to an understanding that this much energy oil is required by so and so countries. So at least we are going to supply all these things so that complete disruption is not happening, so that the inflation also is tackled well, so that we do not go towards a huge recession and after that huge recession, which people are forecasting, people are also forecasting that the world order might change and things like that. So all these things should, I mean, the world order changing is it's a drastic thing happening after so many years. So all these things, they first need to put everything out on table very openly that this is where we are while the wars are going on because of uh, certain things which are not materializing between two countries, three countries, four countries. But it should not become a warfare in the manner that, we want this and we are the dominating country. So we are going to do this no matter what, how the world is going to be. So that needs to be kept in mind. And then we need to come to a conclusion or to a fact that this is how the energy is going to be provided to the rest of the world. So say, for example, South Asian countries have been heavily reliant on the Gulf countries, that we do not destroy the Gulf countries in such a manner, or we do not force Gulf countries that they have to close one strait, or maybe they are now also looking at another strait to leverage upon. So these things should be there, and then of course the countries, they should also focus on becoming self-reliant in the manner, while technology is there, people are aware of the technology. They're not people, the governments, they are aware of the technology, but very few citizens or people are aware of the technology. So then they should be given more and more education, more and more awareness, more and more awareness should be imparted to such citizens. So things shouldn't be in the manner that this is how it has been happening from so many years. And we are letting it happen like this only. One really needs to step up. And by that, one, I mean all the governments of the countries, they really need to step up, get into their power, uh, just not in terms of war, but also to make their citizens understand that this is what the world is going through. And this is where we are at. And this is how we are going to sustain. And this is the energy that we have worked upon. And this is how you should also be learning about it and trying to adapt in your day. This is my
Very
take on this.
very great answer, and I totally agree with you. The best case scenario would be to ensure wars don't take place, and for that, organization like the UN and all have to play a pivotal role. Else, these wars will never end. Avantika, thank you so much for having spared your valuable time and giving such insightful answers. Viewers, as always, I would request you to share this, show the maximum, like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. And most important, give your comments, because your comments help decide the future trajectory that GSN has to take. Thank you once again, Avantika, for having spared your valuable time and have come on
Thank
the
you.
GSN.
Thank you, sir, for having me. And I hope whatever I have spoken about adds on the knowledge of the people or understanding.
Thank you.